Bienvenidos, Ushamandid, and welcome UMGC learners from the CMIT-455 Section 6380 course for the spring 2021 semester. This is the CCNP ENCOR version 8 curriculum from the Cisco Networking Academy, and in this packet tracer tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at activity 21.2.1, where we're going to be troubleshooting wireless LAN issues. And I'm also going to show you an undocumented feature that will crash the packet tracer every single time you do it. So I had a learner run across this issue, and so I'll talk about that when we get into the home office portion of this activity. And this is a very, very rich activity. There's a lot of information here, and there's a lot of things going on, but let's go ahead and tackle these things one at a time. So here's the addressing table. And again, this is probably one of those times you want to pay very close attention to the information that you see in here, because we're going to be confirming and validating the information that's on the devices with the information that's here in the addressing table. And we know we've got issues. And if we think about what it is we've configured with the wireless LAN controller and with home wireless routers and the WPA2 pre-shared key, or with the Enterprise 802.1x, you can see we have a radius server up here, so you can rest assured that that might come into play as well. And so we'll kind of move these things around just a little bit. So here's our wireless LAN information. And again, this is information that we're going to be checking. So in the activity, we're going to troubleshoot various issues in the home network and the enterprise network. It gives you a little background scenario. We've got some login information here, and then here's a list of the devices and the problems, and you can fill that out to keep track of things if you want. But again, for our purposes, we're going to be getting the completion percentage to 100. That's the goal. So where to begin here with this activity? Well, the low-hanging fruit, the easiest thing to do, is going to be over here in the home network, right? Obviously, the home network here is WPA2 personal, right? So this is going to be pretty straightforward. We've got a password we're going to be using, so it should be pretty simple. Now, you can see out here that we need to connect to this web server, and we're going to use the URL, or the fully qualified domain name here, the www.netacad.pt, and not the IP address, because we want to make sure that DNS, and there's a DNS server in our configuration here, we want to make sure that all of that is working. And the test connectivity says to use that URL as well as the IP. And again, we'll use the IP, but the URL is going to be the key, because that's going to trigger that DNS lookup that we're going to have functioning. Now, let's go ahead and start here in the home office. So you can see that we've got this home admin PC that's not connected to anything. And then we've got the tablet PC, the smartphone, and the laptop. So if we were to come to the smartphone, and again, let's just right out of the gate, let's test connectivity with the web browser here. And let's see, can I get to www.netacad.pt? And as you can see here, it's not working for us. It would have come up by now. It's not as slow as the wireless LAN controller GUI, so we would have gotten some action there. We didn't. Let's check the tablet PC. Let's go to the desktop. Let's go to the web browser, and let's try with the 203.0.113.78. And let's see if we can get there via IP address. So again, you can see we're associated, these wireless devices are associated with the wireless router, but we're not getting anywhere in terms of being able to get out to the internet. And so let's go ahead and try one last time here with the web browser. And actually for this, we've tried the web browser twice. Let's try to ping. So can I even ping out of the network? 203.0.113.78. And as you can guess, it's probably not going to work. So there's a number of ways we can troubleshoot this, right? We can take a look at the settings that are here in the table, right? So for laptop, smartphone, and tablet PC. So laptop is DHCP, smartphone is DHCP, and tablet is DHCP, which means they're getting all of their information from the wireless router. So you might instinctively think, well, let me click on the wireless router, but the configuration is locked, okay? And that's where you should make the connection here that this, and there's no pun intended there, make the connection, but you take a look here at Home Admin, right? And I mouse over it. This is probably the device that should be connected to the home wireless router. So if I was to come down here and just grab a straight through cable and go from fast Ethernet, and we'll just take gigabit Ethernet 1. We'll take the first port that's available. And while Spanning Tree is doing its thing here, we've got that orange dot, let me mouse over the laptop. Now, just mousing over the laptop, we can see the wireless 0 interface, and I see that we've got a 192.168.0.2, right? So all good there. I take a look at my default gateway, which is that home wireless router. That looks good. And then I take a look at the DNS server, which that value would be coming from that home wireless router. And let me mouse over again because we had a change there. And you can see the value is 10.100.100.250. And so if I look over at the addressing table and I look at the DNS server, what is the IP of the DNS server? It should be 10.100.100.254. If I come down here to the Home Admin PC and mouse over, you can see the DNS server shows 250. If I come to the smartphone, it shows 250. If I come to the tablet PC, it shows or does it actually show it up here? Okay, it doesn't. So it says not set. The tablet PC doesn't even have the DNS value set. So we see we've got an issue, but we have to get onto the wireless router. Again, clicking on the wireless router, not going to let us do that. We have to come to the Home Admin PC, right? After we have connected it to gig 0, or gig 1, sorry. So if I come to the configuration here, you can see we plugged it in, and the DHCP default gateway is correct. The DNS server is wrong. Let's take a look at the IP we received. 192.168.0.4. Subnet mask checks out. Everything's good. So theoretically, I should be able to get onto that home wireless router by typing in 192.168.0.1. Again, that is the default gateway. If we look over at the addressing table, you can see that the home wireless router, the LAN IP is 192.168.0.1. And here the username is admin and our password is admin. So now we're in the configuration GUI. And if you've ever owned any Linksys equipment, this may look very familiar. And what do we see in here? Well, let's just go from top to bottom. The internet connection, it shows it's a static IP, and it gives us the address, the subnet mask, and the default gateway, and a DNS server value that's just quad zeros. Now, referencing the addressing table, when you look up there, what does it say the internet interface should be configured for? Static or DHCP? And you can clearly see that it's DHCP. So our first change is right out of the gate, change that connection with the internet service provider, right, or the cable modem that's providing us that information, and we change it to DHCP. Now you'll notice the completion percentage didn't budge, but that's okay. Just wait. So in fact, let's come down here and I'm going to say save settings. And you can see that we picked up 16% for that. So now I'm going to roll back up to where we were. And this is what's going to happen. Now, don't panic when you see this. You'll notice that it put the orange dot here on the Home Admin PC again. However, this is going to change here in about 30 seconds. So if you were try to reconnect, and I'm not sure why it does that, because we're changing the internet interface, this crossover cable here between the cable modem and the home wireless router. But for whatever reason, and there we go, we're back online, it goes ahead and it resets the IP, not the IP address, it resets that connection here for home admin PC. So now when I mouse over home admin PC, take a look at what's happened here. For whatever reason, when you change the internet interface to DHCP, it kills the home admin. And again, when I mouse over here, when I mouse over the internet connection, you can see that we're using the internet connection, not gig 1. So what you have to do is we've got to come back in here because again, we've lost our IP address. Click static, click DHCP. We're going to request an address. We're going to get an address back. Now again, same bogus DHCP server value, and that's okay because that value we know is being given out to all DHCP clients, which means it's got to be coming from that home wireless router. So we've taken care of the first issue, which was the cable modem, or the interface on the home wireless router. Now let's type in 192.168.0.1 and let's log back in. Again, it's kind of odd behavior. I wouldn't expect for that to do that, but it does. So the internet interface, we do DHCP. Now we scroll down here. We've got a lot of other values down here. Now the IP address of the router, that's got to be correct. We're logged in. The subnet mask is good. Now, something that I'm looking at when I am making a decision here as to what needs to be fixed, this is our DHCP server range. The range starts at .1. Now, I'm not a big fan of that because that's an address, that is the address of the home wireless router. So typically, we don't have an excluded range of addresses here. However, it might not be a bad idea to start outside of that range that we would want to be reserved, that we don't want, for whatever reason, to be allocated by mistake via DHCP. And again, maybe it won't happen because it's hard-coded right up here, but I would not put that in the DHCP range. So again, we'll leave it, but that's just a quick comment there. Now we get down to the static DNS entry that everybody is getting. And this is the value that's wrong. So again, do this sort of in an iterative fashion, incremental way here. We're going to go ahead and say save settings, and we get 17% for that. Our completion percentage moves to 33%. And again, you can see we changed the DHCP server. The home admin PC loses its connection. So if I mouse over the home admin PC, take a look at what happened again. So the interface gets flipped back to this 169. The DNS server information's wrong. So we're going to need to come back over here. And actually, while we're waiting for this to converge, I'll just mouse over the laptop. Did the DNS server change? It didn't. Did it change on the smartphone? It didn't. What about the tablet PC? And I don't even think it lists it up here. It didn't even list it up here for the tablet PC. So let's start with our laptop. Let's go to the desktop. Let's go to our IP config. And here is how we can refresh that DHCP information. You could do it with IP config /renew, but I just like to come into the GUI and say static, and then click it back to DHCP, at which point I now get the new DNS server value. That is what we were looking for, right? So let's test. Can I now get to www.netacad.pt? And let's see if it's been fixed yet. So it doesn't look like I can get there yet, right? So there still might be something else going on here. Whoa, there it is. Okay, wait, we're up. I had anticipated that it might work there. And so it is working. All right, so it works there. Let's try with the IP. So we'll say 203.0.113.78. And we'll, whoops, sorry, we don't want that. We'll click go. And let's see, we're on the copyright page and it's working. So the laptop is able to get there via the IP, via the URL, meaning that DNS is finally functioning for us. And can I ping 203.0.113.78 and take a look at that? So the laptop is good. The home admin PC, again, we've got some work to do. Now it shows here that everything has been picked up, right? All these new settings have been picked up. We knew what to do if it hadn't been picked up. So www.netacad.pt. Fantastic, right? So it works, and now we can assume that it's going to work when we're using the IP address. The DNS lookup of the URL is going to be the more important part. And then finally, let's ping out 203.0.113.78, and we've got connectivity. Finally, the tablet PC. Let's go ahead and take a look at, take a look at the configuration here. And, well, take a look at our problem. The problem was the tablet PC was set to static. So let's just click DHCP. And if you notice, we picked up 17% for that. So we're now at a completion percentage of 50%. So we're halfway there, but we got to validate, right? It's always good to validate. Let's pull our web browser up, and this one we'll use the IP just to kind of mix things up, 113.78. All right, beautiful. And let's ping out, and let's make sure that we can connect out with a ping of the 203.0.113.78. All right, fantastic. And again, I'm just checking the ping, even though we get there via HTTP, which would typically indicate that, you should be able to ping it. If I can pull the web page up, I should be able to ping it. But I'm just doing it for completeness here. So the home office, I feel we're at 100% here. The laptop's connected out, the home admin PC is rocking and rolling, the smartphone is working, and the tablet PC is working. And we're at 50%, right? So now we're going to turn our attention to what is probably going to be the deep end of the pool, so to speak, on this activity. So here we are over in the enterprise. And as you can see, we have all kinds of goodies awaiting us in terms of authentication setup and things like that. So where to begin? Well, we've got this wireless LAN information. We've got the wireless LAN controller. Here's the admin PC. Let's get on that wireless LAN controller. Now, again, remember the guidance I provided in the previous activities when we're accessing the wireless LAN controller. I'm going to use HTTPS, and the IP is 192.168.200.254. And we should get a login screen. And that advice is be patient here. Cisco 123, because it's going to be a little slower on the uptake than other activity interfaces that you will use. There's no question. And you can see right here, we're waiting for this to log in right now. So when we take it, well, let's think about the things that we've configured, right? We've configured wireless LANs, we configured interfaces, we did DHCP pools for both the APs as well as the client devices. And we did pre-shared keys. We did WPA2 Enterprise with 802.1x. We've got that radius server there. So rest assured, and if I was a betting man, I'm going to tell you that I can almost guarantee that one or both of these wireless LANs are probably not enabled. Again, leading up to this, that's the number one thing that learners overlook. They create the wireless LAN, they're focused on all of the settings in there, and then they apply it and they forget to enable it. All right, so let's go ahead and check and see. Let's just click on wireless LANs and see what we've got here. And again, patience is going to be key, and we should see the wireless LAN shortly. If we just kind of scroll down here, we can see, whoops, well, it's gone now. So here's our wireless LAN screen, right? And immediately what should jump out at you are two things that you see here. Administrative status of wireless LAN or wireless VLAN 20 is the profile name. So I'll just go by the SSID name. So SSID 20. What is the problem? Why is that not working? Yeah, it's disabled. And when we look at SSID 10 and we take a look at how it's supposed to be set up, it should be WPA2 pre-shared key, right? But what does it show the security policy is configured as? They're both set up as WPA2 Enterprise 802.1x, right? And so we've got two things that are going to be very easy for us to sort out here. So the first one we'll fix will be wireless LAN ID 1 or SSID 10, and we're going to change that security policy. We want the security policy to accurately reflect what we're doing here, right, in terms of the security information. And again, patience is the key. I click and I got to wait a little bit, right? But pretty soon we're going to see that interface with multiple tabs. There'll be the security tab, the QoS tab. And so then we're going to dive in there. And then after we sort that out, and here we go, there's the security tab, the QoS tab, policy mapping, advanced. Now, again, you can see we're enabled here, right? That's good. That's the first thing we want. So let's come to the security tab, because this is where we set up our security. And if I scroll down here, this is our problem right here. Pre-shared key is available and it's there, but it's not enabled. 802.1x is enabled. So I'm going to click there to disable 802.1x. I'm going to click there to enable the pre-shared key. Now, you see this value that shows up here. My recommendation, type over that value, right? Because I can't see what that is. So I'm going to type in a new password there. Or the password that we should be using is what I'm saying. Cisco 123. Now you'll notice the completion percentage hasn't budged. That's because we haven't applied any of our changes. So let's click apply. Still hasn't budged. We'll click OK. Now it goes to 66%. So we pick up another 16% there, which is good news. And so now we're going to be very, very patient here while this setting is changing, right? Or while this is being applied, I should say. And take a look at what just happened here, right? You got to love that. Right out of the gate, we get the pre-shared key properly configured, and this laptop comes online. So while we're waiting for the wireless LAN controller, let me mouse over here. We picked up, we picked up a wireless zero interface DHCP address, the 192.168.10.2. So we picked up that. We've got our default gateway, and the DNS server value is correct. So theoretically, I should be able to come onto here, onto laptop 1, and let's ping. So we'll just give it a quick ping. We'll say 203.0.113.78. Bingo, right? We've got connectivity out of the enterprise, which means that the router 1, the switch 1, and the lightweight access point here, that we're good to get out to the internet here. So that's a good sign. And let's pull the web browser up, and let's make sure that we can get to www.netacad.pt. And bingo, right? It's working. And I'm going to test with the IP on another device. Let's pull the admin PC back up. And it looks like it might have applied, and it was just kind of waiting here for us. So what did we want to do? Well, we want to go back to wireless LANs, because now we need to address the issue we know that exists with not VLAN 2, but wireless LAN ID 2. Right? It's disabled. And that is, again, probably the number one thing that learners overlook when making this configuration in the wireless LAN controller. So I'm going to click on wireless LAN ID 2, which is SSID 20. And we're going to go ahead. And as soon as it comes up here, again, patience is the key. And as soon as it comes up, we're going to enable it. And then we're going to go ahead and apply those changes. And boy, it is running a lot slower than I anticipated here. And there's not much more we can check at this point in terms of verification. And there we go, finally. And all we want to do is enable it. That's all I wanted to do. So we're at 66% now. Again, I clicked it, no points. I click apply, and we jump to 83, right? So 17 percentage points for enabling the wireless LAN. So now, based on everything we've been getting, what should happen here is there should only be one thing left. And if you're looking at laptop 2, this has got to be where the issue resides. Now, laptop 2 is 802.1 WPA2 Enterprise 802.1x. We've got a username and a profile that's going to be set up, and we have a password. So my guess is it's either on the Radius server under the AAA services, which is where we would see the user setup for the user profile to make that connection, right? And to have it authenticated, excuse me, and to have this authenticated. And let's double check. That information looks good. User to capital PASS. So I'm looking at this. I'm thinking the Radius server looks good. And again, The laptop isn't even, excuse me, isn't even associated to the wireless access point. So let's pull laptop 2 down here. Let's go to the desktop and let's click on our wireless configuration, because again, our considerations here are the radius server's properly configured, no question, but what about the profile that we know we have to create? So here is wireless LAN 20, SSID 20. So when I look at this information here, the site ID information, or the site information, I don't see username and password. So what do we need to do? Well, let's edit. So I'm going to click on the profile. We're going to click edit. Okay, this looks good, right? Wireless SSID 20, that's great. Let's go into advanced setup. Infrastructure mode, that's correct, right? We don't want ad hoc mode. The SSID is correct. Let's click next. Obtain network settings automatically? Absolutely. Are we using WPA2 Enterprise? Yeah, we are, right? So this is correct. So now let's get to where we've got the username and the password, and what do you think? You got it, right? We just figured it out. It's user2. Now, we can't see the password. My recommendation would be to retype that password in, right? Just to be sure, we'll click next, and I'm going to click save. All right, so congratulations, the profile has been successfully configured. The username was wrong. We couldn't see if the password was wrong. And what we could have done was change the username, try to connect. If it didn't work, go back in, change the password. I just simply did both at one time. And so we've saved everything. We come out and Yahtzee, right? Take a look at that. It shows that we are associated to that access point. Oops, sorry. So let's go to the desktop here, and I want to kill that. Let's try to ping out to 203.0.113.78 and take a look at that. Our activity's at 100%. We've got connectivity all the way through. Final check is, if we can ping it, can I get to the website URL? And let's take a look at that beautiful Cisco logo. There it is. All right, so we covered a lot of ground, and now I'm going to close out literally and figuratively, right? I'm going to close this session out by showing you, and you can replicate this. I've done it like 8 or 9 times just to make sure it happens every time. If you don't connect the home admin PC to administer the wireless router, and you do it with the laptop, and let me pull the laptop up here because the laptop is initially connected, right? And I can come in here as admin. If we make changes here, right? If I tried to make a change, let's say I wanted to change the range to start at 2, and then I come down here and I click Save Settings, what's going to happen, and I'm hoping that it takes me out, and maybe it's the interface that I changed, because I was changing the interface here. If I was to say static IP and to come down here and click Save, it's not going to let me do it. So yeah, server connection reset. And then what would happen, again, without the home admin PC connected, if you try to connect things and fix things with the laptop, it will crash Packet Tracer 731 every single time. I think it's not doing it because the home admin PC is connected up and we've already reached that 100% mark. All right, well, that is going to do it for this Packet Tracer activity 21.2.1, troubleshooting wireless local area network issues. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.